These are three of the most powerful X-Men villains in the Marvel Comics. I did not include Magneto because I do not believe him to be a villain. Let me know in the comments what you think. The first X-Men villain on this list is the highly advanced Sentinel named Nimrod of Earth 811, or better known as the Days of Future Past reality. In this reality, the Sentinels controlled most of North America and mutants were persecuted relentlessly. The strongest Sentinel Nimrod's abilities reside in its adaptability. Nimrod is able to shapeshift and appear as though he is just a normal human. One of his more important abilities is being able to scan and identify mutants, do a full analysis on them, and even give them a threat rating. Shown when he scanned Storm and her daughter, identifying them as mutants, and that Storm was a threat level of severe, recommending to himself to eliminate both of them. He was also able to scan, identify, and acknowledge the power of the Phoenix as Omega, and then defined what Omega means by saying that the upper limits of this power is not determined. He can even identify how long before someone dies from an injury or illness. Nimrod is even able to use telekinesis, demonstrated when he held the unstoppable Juggernaut in the air and then smashed him through a building, then dropped that same building on top of him. Nimrod has faced off against the X-Men multiple times and even fought against Rogue and Gambit, who are both incredibly strong mutants. During his fight against Gambit and Rogue, he was able to identify the specific type of energy that Gambit was throwing at him being kinetic energy and then deploy countermeasures for it. During this fight and flashback, he was defeated by Rogue, who had absorbed the mutant abilities of multiple mutants and just smacked him around, even ripping off his arm. When fighting the new X-Men, he was able to completely push them back, essentially fighting a 1v5 against the mutant and still maintaining the upper hand. He was able to hold back Surge and Dust, even absorbing Surge's electrical abilities, all the while tanking Talon's claws and slashes on him, adapting to all of it. Nimrod is a terrifying villain that the X-Men have faced throughout the years. The next villain on this list is the infamous Apocalypse, or En-Sabah, or in English, the First One. He is a mutant blessed with immortality and has lived for over 5,000 years. In his base form, Apocalypse possesses incredible psychic power, being able to tank a psychic attack from Jean Grey, one of the most powerful mutants ever to exist, and then turning that attack back on her. Even being able to engage in a psychic battle against her and push her back. This is of course without the Phoenix Force, as it's very obvious what happens when Jean Grey possesses the Phoenix Force as shown in the movie. Apocalypse also has the ability to control his body down to the molecule and reshape and reform it at will. He uses this ability to do simple things like evade attacks by splitting his body or growing/shrinking it. Like both Wolverine and Deadpool, instead of this being a healing factor, his ability to control molecules actually allows him to revive and resurrect himself from a single drop of blood, making him extremely durable. He was even able to harm Loki by making his head big and headbutting him, which I found to be pretty funny. He is also able to shoot blasts from his eyes that are strong enough to harm even Thor, the god of thunder. His energy manipulation also allows him to create energy fields that were able to push back Bobby Drake and hold him back. Apocalypse is also an insanely strong mutant, physically being able to go toe-to-toe with Thor, and even coming on top at times, like when he headbutt Thor, sending him flying. Not only is he physically strong, but also so insanely durable, tanking attacks from both the X-Men and the Inhumans like they were nothing. This version of him wasn't even the strongest version, as the strongest version of Apocalypse is when he possessed the Death Seed obtained from the Celestials. This seed allowed him to have power on par with the Phoenix Force, one of the most powerful cosmic entities in the Marvel Universe. He was able to tank a Jean Grey attack with the Phoenix Force and defeat her after as well. There weren't many feats shown from this version of Apocalypse, but the Death Seed is a very powerful object. All I know after making this video is Apocalypse really likes to headbutt people. The last mutant on this list is none other than Onslaught, arguably the most powerful as well. Onslaught is a powerful psionic entity created from the dark thoughts of Professor Charles Xavier and Magneto. Initially, he existed as an alternate personality within Professor X, but eventually broke free to become an independent being. In his original form, Onslaught wielded both Xavier's telepathic abilities and Magneto's control over magnetism. However, as a psychic entity, he later developed the capacity to absorb the abilities of other mutants, expanding his powers. He was able to absorb the powers of 2 beyond Omega-level mutants, making him insanely powerful, the first being Franklin Richards and then the second being Nate Gray and his psionic abilities. His physical abilities render him one of the strongest already, as he is able to not only tank hits from the Hulk but also throw hands against him as well. He also grows stronger and bigger as he absorbs the mental energy. He was able to take the attacks of the X-Men, who included many very powerful mutants like Jean Grey, Nate Grey, and Storm to name a few, and come out completely unscathed and unbothered. What really makes him one of the strongest villains is his mental abilities like telepathy and telekinesis. He is able to effortlessly overpower Jean Grey, who, as mentioned before, is one of the universe's strongest telepaths. He was even able to possess the Hulk, and not only that but then control his form changes and take over his body entirely. His telepathic abilities are so strong he is able to easily override barriers from very powerful telepaths and take their memories to learn about them. The thing that makes him insanely powerful is that he is able to absorb people and then take their powers for himself, making him a culmination of all that he's taken. He has done things like use Franklin Richards' reality warping abilities for himself, such as sending a blast that killed all the X-Men. Another impressive feat is that he trapped Franklin Richards inside of himself, not allowing the boy to escape, the same Franklin Richards who made Galactus's Herald. As we can see, Onslaught is by far one of the strongest villains to exist. These are 3 of the most powerful X-Men villains to ever exist. Thank you so much for watching, and please let me know down in the comments what you think, and a like and subscribe would help a lot.